Have I learnt about technologies from the process of constructing this product? At the start of my A-level media course, I had a very small amount of skills in Photoshop. The only things I could really do were basic IT skills, having done it in IT-related subjects, moving things around, simple keyboard shortcuts like Ctrl-Z to undo something, Ctrl-Y to redo, Ctrl-F to save, etc. After finishing my preliminary exercise, I felt I had learnt quite a lot in comparison to what I knew at the start of the course, from simply inserting images and opening documents to learning lots of other things, such as changing the colours of photos, removing red, blue or green, making photos black or white. I also learnt how to effectively use the Magic Wand tool to remove the background from an image, adding my own if needed, and adding text to an image, changing the size, colour and font of it. Other basic functional skills of Photoshop also became apparent, such as Ctrl-D to deselect, effectively cropping images, and arranging layers. As for InDesign, before the course I hadn't even heard of InDesign, meaning I literally had zero knowledge about or within it. After my preliminary exercise, I already felt like I had learnt quite a lot, opening documents, creating bleeds, margins, columns and rulers. I could now also add images, add text to them, changing its colour, font, size, adding a drop shadow stroke to this text. But I could also create basic boxes and shapes to layer on top of images with text on for headings, etc. as seen below. In terms of what I had learnt about hardware and software after my preliminary exercise, except for saving regularly, having lost my project a couple of times, it was mainly about photography. I had never used a DSLR camera, so when I used my friend's Nikon D3300, I had to learn everything, from how to frame a shot, about aperture and composition of a shot, etc. Other than that, everything else I had learnt was what I had previously mentioned in my Photoshop and InDesign slides. After the completion of my main task, I felt I had learnt a considerable amount more, especially about Photoshop, editing pictures in different and creative ways, changing exposure, offset and gamma, brightness, contrast and curves, liquefying and distorting images when needed, even though it wasn't especially helpful. Creating clipping masks, meaning I could create cool looking effects using a beach image as a colour for the word beach, for example, if I wanted to. I also learnt how to use gradients, giving my pictures a cool colour effect, alternatively using swatches to make my pictures blend into the page or surroundings so they don't look out of place, as I did with my background colour for my magazine pages, using colour from the pictures for the background in previous edits of my magazine listed on my blog. I could also create shapes and lots of different shapes, such as speech bubbles being particularly important for my Why He's Really Following You article. The lasso tool also helped me in removing the background from pictures, and I learnt more about text manipulation such as drop shadows, inner shadows and glows. In terms of my InDesign progression after the main task, I felt I had gotten much more used to the software, being able to throw around images and text quicker, getting to try out more designs in less time, being able to do it more quickly, and having more styling proficiency in general. I also learnt more about text manipulation, being able to add inner and outer glows and how to wrap text around images so it looks more professional and has a natural feel. I also learnt how to change colours and how to make a cool gradient effect for the edge of my pages. By the end of my main task, I had learnt much more about cameras, DSLRs in particular, learning how to control light, change the shutter speed and ISO of my camera, and how that affected the image, and how different focal lengths could have a different impact on what sort of shots I could take. I also learnt a new piece of software in Adobe Illustrator, which was a godsend, helping me create more artistic and different images, as seen in my magazine drafts on my blog. Lighting was a key aspect in my magazine, with many of the shots being taken indoors, and I was lucky enough to have a studio with lots of lights and props in. I was able to set up a 3-point lighting with my subject to make the image look softer, and I also learnt about other types of lighting, such as butterfly lighting, but decided not to use these in my final product as it wasn't the look I was going for. There were many advantages to the technologies I used, having the choice of a plethora of software and hardware, especially for images and image manipulation. An advantage of InDesign was that it is extremely user-friendly in my opinion, making it very easy to simply drag a ruler down to help yourself with lining up images and boxes to where you want them to be. And just very easy to move things around and put things on your magazine. I also found everything I required for making a magazine was in the software that was already on the college computer, meaning I never had to not do something because I couldn't, which was good. Also, the studio room was great for pictures, as tons of different lights, reflectors, diffusers were already up there ready to be pulled into position. As for the disadvantages of my technologies I used, the camera I used more specifically, the lens wasn't the sharpest, limiting me to only still shots really. Also, having a default 18 to 55mm lens meant I couldn't really get any action shots, sports or animals, needing probably a 70 to 200mm or 100 to 400mm lens, limiting the amount of creativity in my shots. Also, the software was very time consuming, taking a while to get your ideas onto paper, with Photoshop in particular taking a lot of knowledge and time to learn, having to watch many tutorials. Another downside is the price of the software, meaning it was too expensive to buy at home, having to push all the work into college hours. In conclusion, I felt my skills in Photoshop, InDesign, and with other media-based hardware and software have sharpened significantly with practice throughout my preliminary and main task.